Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast, In My Thoughts. I asked on Instagram what should the next topic be, and the most voted one was self-love. So today we're going to be talking about self-love. And before I get into this, I always just want to start off with these podcasts saying that these are my subjective and objective point of views. Even though I try to speak with the most objective view possible, I'm not always going to be 100%. This isn't a cited source. This is simply just me speaking out loud from the heart. And it comes from the most natural place I can, which is the whole point of the podcast. It's supposed to be organic and just, So my opinions can change in the future. Perspectives can change in the future. It's the experience of life. But this is just the way to encourage more people to probably be on the podcast in the future, and also just create more ideas we can talk about. All right. So without ado, welcome to the podcast. In my thoughts. So today's about self-love. So this is actually a topic that has so many just variations and different subjects. I guess I would like to start it at the core foundation is that self-love is disciplining what you need in life for yourself before others. It's taking necessary action to separate yourself and figuring out what you need to improve and, feeding yourself, being kind to yourself, taking self-therapy, reminding yourself of your strengths, working on your weaknesses. The best metaphorical way, I guess, is treating yourself like the person you love the most and loving yourself. Self-love has also been described as self-discipline, having the discipline to be able to know, like, hey, I'm not gonna let you eat this pizza. It's gonna make you fat. And it can also range into many different qualities, as in self-discipline, self-preservation. This is definitely a topic that ranges within body, soul, and mind. I believe when it comes to self-love, it does require you to look into all those areas. It can go from picking out the right foods that nourish your body to picking out the toxic thoughts that run in your mind, to understanding and preventing bad habits that form in your life, to disconnecting from social that don't benefit your life, from standing up to yourself, for yourself, and, speaking what you believe, having your own back, setting up bases, standing up for your perspectives, expressing yourself, exploring yourself, self-preservation, growing. For the image behind the video, it's a hand holding a flower. And I chose that because self-love is kind of like that. You want to grow your seed. We all have our seedlings, and you want to plant your seed and start watering it. And plants need different things to be loved, and so do you. There are so many different areas of us that aren't loved. And that's where I guess now that I got the foundation, I'm going to go into the actual blueprint. Self-love definitely is a difficult challenge, I have to say, because we do live in a society where especially if you live in America. Our culture is very fast paced. You have to work, work, work. Be, you know, how do I explain it? Cultures are fast paced. From getting out of school to getting a job, to landing yourself in a household, to setting up goals, to finding out what your dream is. Like there's so many fast paced that basically what I'm trying to say is you constantly have to be moving. And once you stop moving, it's looked down upon. Once you pace yourself out, it can be looked at as you're being lazy, when sometimes the reason why we slow down so much is because we're out of gas. Our mental state can't take it no more, and when our mental and spirit can't take anything anymore, everything else starts shutting down. Self-love is about preserving that. It's about looking at yourself and challenging yourself at the same time, but also nurturing yourself to those challenges. And sometimes self-love really is an intuitive thing. It really is a personal level thing. It's not always something somebody else can tell you. Sometimes somebody else's advice of self-love, it's what's going to harm you, because it's their perspective of their version of self-love. Self-love is it can be very unique. Everybody has their own ways of showing self-love. Me personally, my versions of self-love is sometimes space, meditation, mental rehabilitation, going through my thoughts. If I find anything that's not concurrent to who I am, then I have to rebuild that, to press reset and reboot myself and really think about what is a better mindset to take on to the future. And people can definitely be a moving force in that direction, just because of the fact that people influence your thoughts, your behavior, your actions, your habits. Not always can they influence, depending on how much consent you give them. But at the same time, the world's not perfect. So most of the time we are influenced by other people, just because we're social. We like to be accepted in society. We want to be accepted by people. Which is why I said that self-love can be a very personal ritual. I call it a ritual because it's something that you practice daily. You have your ritual, you know? Sometimes it's as easy as waking up early in the morning and taking a walk, and before you start your day, cite affirmations and remind yourself of your power and what you're good at. Self-love is also unidentifying with negative personality traits. If you have anger issues, you can't let that be who you are as a definition. You have to recognize that as a part of your nature, and you take that with kindness. I'm not saying that gives people permission to hit people and be like, oh, well, I was just having a bad day. But understanding your limits, what precautions can you take to lower the chances of you bursting out? What are the chances? What rituals can you do to better understand your anger? Where does your anger come from? That's self-love, nurturing yourself and looking at those shadows that you didn't know you had, that you're casting 24/7. Self-love is about looking within and truly healing. There is another idea that I have for a podcast. It's called The Shadow Self. I would love to make a podcast about that. It's probably going to be the next one that I do next week. The shadow, I like to describe it as, is your neglected parts. And it does tie into the self-love. So in a summary, your shadow are your neglected parts. The parts that we put away into our subconscious mind to accept ourselves, I guess, in the best way. Maybe somebody that was too emotional was told, hey, don't be emotional. That's not what being a man or a woman is about. So they grew up thinking that they grew up thinking that being emotional is a weakness. So seeing other people be emotional cast a shadow, and that shadow was a judgment. And that judgment comes from themselves. They're unaccepted part of themselves. So this ties into self-love, because self-love is about loving your shadows. Taking the necessary time to dive into your shadows whenever you can, and loving yourself 100% for who you are, and growing your seed, because there's a seed within you. And growth isn't just about success. I'm not saying what I'm trying to say is you can have $1 million and not be self-loved. You can have a house with a family full of people and still not have self-love. Self-love is a journey that we take on our own, that we obtain and learn on our own. It's why I call it a ritual. It's a daily practice. It's a reminder of your strength. It's a kindness to yourself that you give yourself when you most need it. I'm not saying to pity yourself, because sometimes pitying yourself can lead you into a victim mindset, which is not what we want. Self-love is about forgiving yourself and understanding what you need to do better, and giving yourself that room to improve. Self-love is about patience for yourself. Patience. And the reason why self-love can be so important is because we love people how we love ourselves. Your ability to love another can sometimes reflect the way you love yourself. And that the more skilled you are at loving yourself, the more skilled you become at loving another. Sometimes you can meet someone and you treat them amazingly, but you don't treat yourself at all. This is called self-neglect, when you neglect yourself. Your whole life force is dependent on how well you treat yourself and how well you understand yourself. In a spiritual aspect, understanding yourself is also a journey along with self-love. When you understand your presence, your aura, your energy that makes you. I'm not talking about your personality. I'm not talking about your name. I'm not talking about your deepest, personality of yourself. I'm talking about the force that's there when you stop thinking. Your conscious, your spirit. That grows as well when you learn to self-love. Self-love can be grown with the help of material aspect. For example, food is material, your body's material, so when I say what I'm trying to say is materialism isn't bad for self-love, but it can definitely be bad. You definitely it's kind of what I said in the beginning. Self-discipline also comes with self-love, because sometimes it's not the material possession that is love. Sometimes those things are wants, and want is never love, because want is never enough. Want is satisfied for a short amount of time. Love is eternal. Love is forever. Love never runs out. Love is always burning. So, going for a walk can be the smallest level of self-love, to sitting down and being completely honest with who you are and learning to love who you are. It's looking at your flower that you've grown and it might be missing some petals, and it might be slowly dying. It might be a little withered. It might be thirsty and it needs water. It might need nutrients from the soil. The soil might be dry, but it's looking at that flower and saying, I love you. I accept you. And I can still grow you. And it's giving your flower water. It's giving your flower nutrients. It's replenishing the soil. You know, it's plucking those dead leaves off and letting new ones grow. That's what self-love is. So, the time limit has been reached. This was my first podcast, Self-Love, in a year. I guess technically it's my second one, but I'm considering it my first one because, you guys helped me out to this one. If you like these, please leave a like, leave a comment, share some ideas of what I can do to improve the podcast. Also, share some ideas of what you would like me to talk about. If you want, I'm going to post my Instagram on the bottom. Go ahead and go there. I should have a poll within this week asking what ideas I should be posting for the next podcast. Go ahead and let me know. Vote or just give me ideas, and that'll be my next podcast. So the podcast's ideas and topics are heavily dictate on what people want to hear and what people want to talk about. So yeah, this is it. Thank you guys for listening. If you listened this far, thank you. I appreciate your presence. I hope you guys have a good day. I love you. Self-love. Love yourselves. Love who you are. Grow your seed. Thank you guys. You guys have a good one.